It has now been 16 years since little JonBenet Ramsey was murdered. Now, there are new developments into this case about what had happened since little JonBenet was murdered. Now, for those of you that are for those of you that are not caught up in this, probably sometime next week, I was going to do this last month, prior leading up to JonBenet like I did last season, but I clearly forgot about it in my mind. So to make up for that, probably all next week we're going to focus in on the case. So maybe asking, okay, why are we going to do this today and we're going to focus on next week? Well, because there are new developments, so we're going to stick to the new developments when we go to the old, because there's a lot to talk about here. Starting with all the very latest. This was from the 11th of January from thesun.com. And on that, in the article, JonBenet Ramsey's dad believes a stalker was surveilling his family for months while his daughter's murder, claiming a mystery intruder stayed in his bedroom. It says John Ramsey, 79, told the U.S. Sun in an exclusive sit-down interview that he was alerted to the apartment intruder by one of the family's housekeepers months after the JonBenet Ramsey was found strangled to death. At the time, the Ramsey family, who lived in Boulder, Colorado, had a holiday home in Michigan, where they'd often vacation together in the summer. In the summer of 1996, one of the Ramsey's housekeepers had apparently gone into the home to ready it for their arrival when she saw a suitcase and other belongings appearing to belong to an adult male neatly laid out in JonBenet's bedroom. The individual wasn't inside the home at the time, and the housekeeper didn't think anything of the discovery. John said, believing the family had likely let a friend stay the often vacant property. Some told us, when I came to clean and freshen up your house, there was somebody who was staying in JonBenet's room, but he wasn't there, claimed John. John said he reported the housekeeper's account to the police, but does believe investigators ever looked into the claim seriously. The Boulder PD declined to comment, when approached by the U.S. Sun, citing an ongoing investigation, which has been going on for 16 years, but this is why it's being developed. Further supporting belief that the family is being watched by his daughter's killer in the weeks and months preceding her death. The infamous ransom note at the center of the case, spanning 2.5 pages featuring a series of bizarre turns of phrases. The note was addressed to John and purportedly had been written by a foreign faction who demanded $118,000 in cash to JonBenet's safe return. The oddly specific sum was almost identical to a deferred bonus acquired by John, his job as the executive for a computer company. The letter had been written on a pad of paper that belonged to the Ramseys. The pen also came from inside the home. It was discovered by JonBenet's room, Patsy, early in the morning on December 26, 1996, at the bottom of the staircase at the near the home, moments before she called 911 to report her daughter missing. For years, suspicion linked that Patsy authorized the note. But both John and Patsy voluntarily supplied handwritten samples to police, and neither found to be the match. John believes that the truth that both where the note was left and the contents further evidence that attack on JonBenet Ramsey was starting and possibly carried out specifically to hurt him. John believes his daughter was killed during a kidnapping gone wrong. John Ramsey last saw his daughter when he carried her out in bed late Christmas Day, having spent most of the day over at a friend's home. He and Patsy woke up early in the morning, December 26th, and thus the family was due to go out on a trip. In a state of shock, I don't know where I'm at right now. He saw the sum of $118,000 and immediately started making arrangements to get the cash withdrawn. The killer theory. numerous suspected figures that come to suspicion, like the Santa Claus guy, the parents. And remember, the parents were accused of this. They denied that they killed their daughter, and Patsy was the one that wrote the letter because it matched to her, but she denied it. John remains perplexed why someone wanted to harm or kill his daughter, so the killer could have been someone he worked with who had access to the accounting department. Ultimately, the killer may have broken into or being invited to the family's home in the days or weeks or months preceding the murder and found one of the pay stubs with the $118,000 bonus written on it. And this ends to say John 279 December his word that he's running out of time to get answers. He also appealed to the governor of Colorado to instruct me to release any DNA evidence that could have to stay at the yard geology lab. Additionally, John is urging investigators to take a look at the attack on another young girl that happened in Boulder months after his daughter's murder, which he believes could be connected. So there's probably a connection. This murder, JonBenet Ramsey, and the other girl. But we'll keep you posted on what's been going on. Speaking of this case, when we come back, that person, that geologically DNA could help solve this murder. But could it be enough to find out who the real killer is? Megyn Kelly will help us out here, so stay with us. Meet CeCe Moore, who was chief genetic geneticist at the Department of Nanolabs and found DNA detectives. Now, this could be leading up to what happened. If you just joined us, we're focusing more on the JonBenet Ramsey. She was killed by somebody that we don't know. Lots of suspects popped up, and next week we're going to focus our entire attention to this case. Because I was going to do it back in December, which was the months leading up to that, but I was being lazy and focusing on other issues. This was the most important issue to talk about here. Now, CeCe appeared just days ago on Megyn Kelly's podcast, who really talked about if this DNA thing could really help solve this case. Now, DNA evidence could really help out here. So, that's what you really got here. And there was also a YouTube channel that really helped out with this case. He had posted two 2020 stories, one from 1998, one from 98, and one from 23 years ago, and another from 23 years ago. We're going to focus all that next week. Let's hear what CeCe had to say about this, because it was the reason. Because really, it was the reason why this case was being brought. Take a look.
One of the reasons why your name came up in discussing the JonBenet Ramsey case. We had John Ramsey on the show not long ago, and he's like, I'm 78 years old. I don't have much time to see this case solved. And he said, CeCe, he wants someone like you to analyze what they say is a teeny tiny bit of DNA that is left in that case. And I don't know why there's not more, because apparently they have JonBenet's pajamas, they have her underwear, they have the implement used to strangle poor JonBenet, and the instrument. And it's been tested repeatedly and there's been no match. And I guess that what he's being told is basically there's only one more test in here. Like, if we do this again and we don't get the guy, it's done. There's so little left. So just to update our viewers, he wants the governor of Colorado to allow him, as the child's father, who's been ruled out as a suspect by the prosecutor, to take this DNA and give it to somebody like you, to take it to a private lab that is the best of the best. And this seems to make so much sense to me. But he wasn't able to get the Governor Polis, to even respond to him. He told us this right before Christmas when he came on. So during that interview, he told us, this is an update for our viewers, CeCe, he told us about a letter that he wrote to the Colorado governor, Jared Polis, and he had written it like 2 months earlier, October. He asked him for a face-to-face meeting because so far he'd been getting the stiff arm from the governor, from the state law enforcement. They created this sort of, we're going to refer to our cold case unit. And he was like, that's a PR CYA cover. That's not real. And he wanted to tell the governor personally the different steps he wants taken in the investigation, including this new DNA testing with somebody like you. So it would cost the state nothing. He said he and his supporters would pay for it. Well, John came out and told us the governor never even did him the courtesy of responding to him. I mean, how do you not respond to this grieving dad? After the interview, we promised John Ramsey that we and our viewers were going to reach out to the governor and demand answers. Why are you ignoring this man? Why are you ignoring John Ramsey and his concerns? No response for us either. We told our listeners and our viewers to do it. They did as well, reached out to the governor's office directly, demanding action on behalf of John Ramsey. Respond to the man, do something. Now, we don't know what exactly flipped that switch, but John just told us he's heard back from the governor after 2 months of being ignored. And now the governor has asked him, John Ramsey, to contact the Colorado Director of Public Safety, and he's done that. No face-to-face meeting yet, but John is telling us he now feels encouraged by the response. So yay!
That's
Thank
great.
you to all of our viewers and our listeners for helping and amping up the pressure. And now, CC, what we need to happen is for someone like you, ideally you, to get this evidence analyzed. So how high are the risks given how little DNA there is?
Just backtracking a little, I don't know if you remember, but you asked me almost 5 years ago what case I'd like to work, and I mentioned JonBenét. And I have received emails or messages on social media every single day since that time asking me to work this case. I certainly would love to have the opportunity to do so, but I doubt very much that they would let me work it. I would expect maybe the FBI will work it if anyone is allowed to do so. As far as the risks, yeah, once you use up that DNA, that's the end. So you have to make sure that it's being sent to a well-tested team, a lab that has been able to create profiles, genetic genealogy profiles from tiny amounts of degraded DNA, and that has scientists that are really highly skilled at working with that degraded DNA. We can assume it's degraded after all these years. With touch DNA, which I think that's what this is in this case, my understanding, again, you just have a tiny bit of skin cells, and it can be very quickly consumed. So I understand Boulder Police's hesitation to use up that last little bit because you never know what's coming around the corner. Nobody predicted investigative genetic genealogy outside of our little, community. And so I always am hesitant to second guess law enforcement. I've been involved in some pretty high profile cases where people were out there criticizing law enforcement and had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. And I wasn't
Like
able
Idaho.
Yeah, just like Idaho. That's exactly right. Now, in that case, I didn't have inside information, but I strongly suspected they were trying investigative genetic genealogy. But there's been other cases where they've never even released that they did use that tool. And, I've had to keep quiet and watch all these people criticizing law enforcement for years. It happened in the Chapel Hill case and Faith Hedgepeth's case as well. I had to bite my tongue. And so you just don't know what they are doing behind the scenes and what their reasoning is. And so I really do hesitate to second guess, like I said, but I think it is the time to go ahead and do it. They can get a whole genome sequence done on that DNA if it's viable, meaning you can not just look at the 700,000 markers that we use for genetic genealogy, but they could look at the entire genome and then have all of that information for the future. And I think that's probably the best bet in this case. There's two different ways you can do it. One is called microarray, where you just look at those 700, 800,000 genetic markers that the direct-to-consumer DNA testing companies also use. Or you could do this whole genome sequence where you get every bit of the genome information that is available in that sample.
You get that from touch DNA?
Yes, absolutely. About 10% of the cases that we've helped solve or been able to create profiles for have been touch DNA. We published a paper in 2019 talking about that. And so people in this case are saying, oh, it's so new if they use touch DNA for genetic genealogy, but it's actually not. We've been doing it since 2018. So it's totally doable. And I think, John's getting older, as he keeps pointing out, and now is the time.
Okay, listen, is your business still using spreadsheets and emails to manage important sales commission?
I really think this could help here. Like she talked about, it really could shed some light on who the killer is. That brings us to our next article. Bring you guys out a little bit. In that article here, there's no time. Letter to Polis. Now, as we showed you, that letter was being sent out and responded to contact the safety of something, and we're still waiting. So therefore, we could get a break in this case. We could really get a break in this case here. So really, what you got over here is just something like this. But the timeline. If you look at the timeline of this case. We're going to 26 years here in this case. I mean, this case has not been solved. A list of suspects has been brought in, like we talked about. Next week we're gonna dedicate the show to JonBenét Ramsey. But that's just a little snippet of what I got for you. And if you're like me, you want to get involved in this and really help out here, it could really make a much difference. But that's just a little preview of what's gonna be happening throughout next week. So. We got that genealogy. We got the very latest article. So we already got the latest article here, but there could be more to this story. Like that's just the very latest. So we'll keep posting on this, and next week. A whole week dedicated to little JonBenét Ramsey. 26 years later. Our investigation is going to continue into teacher tantrum, teacher meltdowns. Up next, we're going to have more of those teacher meltdowns as kids are just getting out their phones, recording teachers having meltdowns, and the school is doing nothing about it but having kids just uploading videos. Stay with us. Last episode on this broadcast, we did a GM investigation into teacher tantrums, as well as teachers assaulting students. Now, I've looked at this in my head, and I think it's kind of very similar to saying. You have teachers who have meltdowns, and teachers who, like, it's just a case of teachers flipping out. Like, getting at it, yelling at the kids, being berating other kids. You just can't do that at a school. It's just that simple. But it's just focusing on that video that got me really sick. It happened in Texas to where a teacher assaulted a student. Meaning he put his hands on a kid. Now, in that video, it was very disturbing to watch because, really, if you looked at that video, if you watched that video in Houston, you realize how upset you were when you watched that. And now there's a conference that's going on, and this conference was days ago. So, take a look.
This morning, we have collectively come here to speak out against an English teacher here at Humble High School who we believe should be charged with assaulting a student and locked up. When you watch the videotapes of what this teacher did, this teacher was out of control. In fact, his behavior reminds you of teachers gone wild. This teacher approached this young man, pulled the seat out from under him to what caused him to hit the floor. The young man attempted to leave the classroom. The teacher proceeds to assault the student, and this strong, young, intelligent, young African-American male never put his hands on this teacher. Even when he was being assaulted, even when he was being accosted by a teacher out of control, he never put one finger on that teacher. From what we witnessed on that videotape, had the roles been reversed, and that young man put his hands on that white teacher the way that white teacher put his hand on that black student would be in jail today and charged with assaulting that teacher. Why is it Humble ISD? There's a double standard in how you deal with our children who are the victims of assault at the hands of a teacher's out of control. You see other students intervening and attempting to stop the further assault. You see other students trying to tell the teacher to calm down, to relax, and the teacher refuses to stop. The teacher refuses to obey instructions from kids that are righteous to stop assaulting a fellow student. This teacher should be charged with a crime, and this teacher's license to teach should be revoked, and this teacher should never be allowed to enter a classroom in Texas or anywhere else and teach our children. I want to commend the students in that class who tried to stop that teacher. We applaud you, students. So often we see kids acting out of control in class, but you students were trying to stop that assault. I want to commend this young man's father for his son. His son, I salute you, young brother, because you didn't fall for the cheese. You didn't fall for the mousetrap and put your hands back on him. See, what the teacher really wanted to do in my assessment from the video is have the young man strike him so he can say he was assaulted by the kid to justify his actions. But that young man obviously has been raised right by a strong black father in the home, not absent, teaching that young man how to be a young man. We demand the arrest of this teacher's license to be revoked, and this teacher should never be allowed to teach in a Texas classroom ever again. Dr. Matthews.
Good morning, Dr. Candace Matthews. I'm the National Minister of Politics for the New Black Panther Nation. I hate to say this is not the first time we have had an issue with Humble ISD. We was just here last month because of what they done to a child at one of the elementary schools. This district and what they're doing to our children, it is horrific and it is appalling. And Brother Cornell X is absolutely right. This teacher needs to be fired. This teacher needs to have charges pressed against him, because when we reviewed this video was asinine. For you to see a teacher to have that type of aggression and to do this to another student, and then for the other students to be like they're trying to stop the actual assault. It's supposed to be learning going on in that classroom, not a fight club. What is this? Humble ISD, I'm tired of coming up here dealing with you all with the foolishness and your lackluster leadership here in your schools. Every time we get calls about your schools, we are going to blast you and every other school district. We demand accountability, because accountability breeds responsibility. And as community leaders, it is our responsibility to state what is right, because if we don't say something, it makes us complicit. Thank you.
The father will say something on behalf of his son. Come on.
Yes, my son, his physical wounds will heal, but just like a lot of veterans, we come back with invisible wounds. My baby is not really ready to be in front of the camera. He's not really ready to come back to school because of the situation. I'm asking everybody to pray with us. Pray for something to be done in this school district. Pray for charges to be brought against this teacher. I don't want this teacher to be able to teach nowhere in this state or in this country, for that matter, to be able to go somewhere and be able to have the opportunity to do this ever again to another student. I don't want another student to have to feel the way that my baby feels. May he be white, black, Hispanic, Asian, it does not matter to me. No child should be having his hands, having a teacher who is supposed to be teaching and protecting him, slang him all over the room like he a rag doll. Right is right and wrong is wrong. That is what I teach my child. That is what his mother teaches his child. I just ask that y'all stand with us.
When you look at the video, we really want to know from the Humble ISD Police Department, what's taking you so long to file these charges? When you have a video of a crime being committed against a child, under any other circumstance, any other place, charges would have been filed right now. There is no question and no doubt that that teacher assaulted that young student and should be charged. We'll take your questions.
There's a video going around. We actually got it here from Colin. Do we have permission to use that video?
Yes.
Yes.
Where was that video obtained? Is it in your possession? Is it somebody else's possession?
It was filmed by a few students inside the classroom.
And there are several videos.
Several videos. We've already got permission to use the videos from those students as well as my son.
And they've already posted them on social media also.
It's on all the outlets.
We are demanding the immediate termination, not suspension, termination of this teacher. And we're demanding the immediate arrest of this teacher.
So we see the video, we see the moment where everything happened, but what happened prior to that? What led to that situation?
was told when I came to the schoolhouse, literally about 30 minutes after the incident had happened, it was near the end of the school day, and everybody knows how it is at the end of the school day. Students are just talking, joking, playing around at the end of the school day. The teacher came from his part of the classroom into the next to tell my son that he making his class be loud. He's making his class act out. My son then said, okay, I'll be quiet. The teacher stayed there in front of him, kept accosting him, kept antagonizing him. He then snatched the chair from up under my son. My son fell, caught himself, got up, and that is when the teacher attacked him.
How the situation ended, we see in the video that few students go out to try to calm the situation, but what ultimately led to the situation to what happened?
Just all the students at the end of the day just talking, being loud at the end of the day. That teacher didn't want it going on, so he came over there and he approached my son to tell my son to be quiet. I'm not saying it wasn't his class. My son, the class that my son was actually in, I had a substitute teacher. And the way that the classes are set up, they are put together, they are conjoined. So he came on that other side to approach my baby.
What have the school officials told you after everything?
From what I've been told by the school officials, that he will not be back on Humble campus, but he is on administrative leave. And administrative leave means he still is able to receive a check and be able to take care of his family.
After you picked up your child, what were the few first words that he said to you?
He was, sorry, I didn't want to say that, but he was really upset. He was really telling us how he felt about the situation, how he don't understand. He did what the teacher said. He got quiet, like he said, but the teacher stayed in his face. He said the same thing that I just said to you all now. If he would have struck that teacher like he should have or what he needed to do in a situation like that after being slung across the room, they would have had him in handcuffs.
Exactly.
I don't care if he's on administrative leave. I don't want to hear nothing about administrative leave. Because if you have a person that is a robber, a known robber, and he is shot by somebody and killed in the streets, that guy is still going to prison. I don't care about the past of my child. I don't care about the past of nothing else. We are talking about the situation right now. We have to be where our feet are and not where our feet were. My son is in the 10th grade, ma'am.
Let me say this. If this was any other case where there was a video of a parent doing the same exact thing to their child that this teacher did to this father's son, to this student, CPS would remove the child from the home. Secondly, HPD would be notified, and once HPD looks at that video, they would have arrested the parent. We don't want nor can we tolerate a double standard for a teacher where a school district claims to have a zero tolerance policy for assaulting behavior and bullying behavior on campus. If this was a student doing this to a teacher, the student would have left this campus in handcuffs, not on administrative leave, sitting home getting your coffee and your chips and still getting a paycheck.
A couple more questions for you, Dad.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you guys gonna do now? Is your son gonna come back to Humble High School? What are your plans moving forward?
At this time, we just waiting on my son to feel comfortable with coming back. We don't know if he's going to stay at the school or if he's going to go somewhere else. That's up in the air right now. Mentally, he's just not ready to come back.
What about your whole family? How do you all feel about the situation?
My family's staying with me just like I stand with my child. We are one Uma. We stay together, ma'am.
How old is he?
My son is 16. He just turned 16 on January 4th.
If I could speak,
Go right ahead.
I'm the grandfather. So this is my son here. And my wife and I drove here 8 hours last night to get here. The thing I want you to understand is the principal is very supportive. But we all know I'm an educator myself back in the state I live in, served on the school board. The school district needs to make a decision. They need to do something to make sure he's terminated. It's the school district. Principal doesn't fire. The school district fires. And then, of course, we're going to furtherly push this legally just to let it be known. We're not just flapping our lips, talking loud and saying nothing like James Brown said. We're going after it with legal actions.
What grade is this, folks?
10th grade. And one thing that I would like to say, in order for change to happen, what we've noticed with these school districts, and Grandpa, you're absolutely right. It needs to be litigation. It needs to be agitation. That's why we're here, to agitate the situation. And legislation. It needs to be a law put in place to alleviate this type of activity. Because there's no way that that teacher should be receiving paid with leave. And we constantly, we clearly see the video that it was a full-fledged assault. So again, legislation, agitation, and litigation is what we need to make change.
Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your time. That concludes our press conference. Thank you.
Maybe we can everybody give us your name, please. Just Cornell, I know you. May I get your name for something?
Oh, you don't know me? Oh, no, I'm just playing. Okay, no. Okay, well, the hat I'm wearing today. Okay, Dr. Candace Matthews. I'm the National Minister of Politics for the New Black Panther Nation that seeks.
More Kicks of Flavor.
Let's say this at some point, we all have to say, there has been too much tantrum in teachers, there's been too much assault on teachers, and at some point like this, we all have to say, enough! Enough is enough! Seriously. Enough is enough. Especially from this one. Take a look.
An Humble High School teacher, hot water tonight, accused of repeatedly shoving a student.
The classroom assault caught on camera. The video you're seeing here, it shows a teacher shoving the student onto a table and then a wall multiple times. KPRC2's Mario Diaz joining us now live from the newsroom with those details and a response from the district. Mario.
Danielle, and to be clear, it's an investigation involving law enforcement. Today, the student's father is speaking out over what he and the district says should have never happened. A teacher shoving a student against a classroom wall multiple times, captured on video. It happened 48 hours ago at Humble High School. The teacher grabbing the 16-year-old student and forcibly pushing him into a wall. The student not retaliating. Albert Bolden is the father of the student.
I mean, no child should be having his hands, having a teacher who is supposed to be teaching and protecting him, slang him all over the room like he a rag doll.
Adding, a teacher came in from another classroom to help a substitute teacher.
All the students at the end of the day just talking, being loud at the end of the day. That teacher didn't want it going on, so he came over there and he approached my son to tell my son to be quiet.
Shortly thereafter, things escalated. Humble ISD says the incident should have never happened, and it's unacceptable. District police are investigating. The student's family and others shocked over everything captured on video.
I don't want another student to have to feel the way that my baby feels. May he be white, black, Hispanic, Asian, it does not matter to me.
There is no question and no doubt that teacher assaulted that young student and should be charged.
Bolden says there's a double standard in his mind, especially if the roles were reversed.
If he would have struck that teacher like he should have or what he needed to do in a situation like that after being slung across the room, they would have had him in handcuffs.
Humble ISD says this should have never happened and it is unacceptable. District police are investigating, adding the teachers on leave and unlikely to return upon the conclusion of an investigation. Live in the newsroom, Mario Diaz, KPRC2 investigates.
Like this should never have happened, but if the roles were reversed...
A teacher caught on camera.
Sorry. If the roles had been reversed, then surely the student would have been arrested, let out in handcuffs at the campus, and he would have been gone to jail. Now, if a parent, now like they said in the press conference, if a parent assaulted the kid, the parents, CPS could investigate that video, police would have gotten involved, and the parents would go straight to jail, according to the child laws. We'll be right back. Let's go back to Texas. Let's still continue on in Texas now. There is now another teacher who assaulted a student. Another one. This isn't the same one. This was from 4 months ago. 4 to 5 months ago, a teacher assaulted a student. It was very similar to this case. And there was probably no news conference dealing with this issue. But if there was, I would have handled it like it would. But I don't know what to say anymore. Let's take a look.
Well, Alex, for starters there, we'll be following the student code of conduct. I had the chance to speak with the district superintendent, Dr. Muri, who says incidents like this one will not be tolerated. And I do want to warn you that the video we're about to show you is graphic. It's a video you've probably seen on social media over the past 24 hours. The original Facebook post shared over 3,000 times. And even though it's barely 40 seconds long, it's a difficult video to watch. In it, you can hear an 8th grade Bowie Middle School student and his teacher arguing over a phone that she confiscated from him. As the video progresses, you see the teacher refusing to give it to him. Then the student becomes physical, shoves the teacher, hits her multiple times, knocks her head against the desk, and knocks her to the ground. A violent incident that ECISD Superintendent Dr. Muri said will not be tolerated in this district.
Specifically, with students involved in a situation like this, we have an obligation to follow our student code of conduct, and in this situation of violence is not tolerable. Specifically, this was an assault on a teacher, and so we will certainly use our every avenue legally to make sure that this type of situation doesn't happen again. All of those pieces are in place, so these incidents don't necessarily create a policy change. It is effectively using the policies and procedures that are in place. And so fidelity of implementation, if you will, making sure that we're implementing those policies and procedures effectively.
And he says while they make sure their teachers are equipped with what they need, he wants parents to do the same with their children.
Clear rules and expectations of children and of adults as well, but that needs to be clear. Our families need to understand those so that moms and dads can have conversations with kids about those rules and expectations. And then we have to equip our teachers and those that work with our children with the knowledge so that they also understand the rules and expectations and then how to implement those and enforce those within our campus. So that's.
And as for the teacher involved, the district is fully supporting her.
We're providing full support to that teacher to make sure that she feels confident and comfortable to return to work and continue to educate kids. And we will continue to support her and her family as we navigate this situation.
And now, according to ECISD, this 8th grade student involved has been arrested and charged with aggravated assault of a public servant, which is a first-degree felony. Alex.
Christina, thank you. In parts of that video, you can hear that the student and the teacher seem to be arguing over a confiscated phone, which does align with the school's cell phone policy. And that says that students can have phones, but they must be turned off. The policy states that cell phones can only be used when students are outside of the school, and failure to comply with the policy can result in the phone being confiscated and picked up at the end of the school day by a parent.
You see how this case turns around? Like we just showed you, a student assaulted a teacher. That student was arrested and charged for assaulting a public employee. You see how the roles reversed? Now the roles were reversed and that teacher assaulted the student. She would have been arrested. She would have been placed on administrative leave. It's the same. How about this one from 3 years ago? In Hays County, a teacher was arrested after assaulting a student. Take a look.
A teacher caught on camera punching a student at a Hays County school.
And we want to warn you, the video of that assault may be tough to watch. This happened at Lehman High School. The substitute teacher punched the student multiple times and threw her out of her chair before stomping on her.
KVU's Bryce Newberry joins us live from the school tonight. Bryce?
Mike and Quita, these videos really are disturbing, and one student who was inside that classroom earlier today told me he's stunned.
These are the videos circulating on social media after a substitute teacher at Lehman High School brutally attacked a 16-year-old student.
Me and a group of friends were all laughing. It was just a joke somebody said.
A 10th grader in that classroom says it all started as students were laughing.
She said, what the f*** are we doing? And we all looked, and then she was just still passing out papers.
That was just before 32-year-old Tiffany Langford came close to the student's face and argued with her.
The student swung because she was in her face and pressing her. The teacher put on her glasses. She swung like 3 times, pulled her to the ground, and stomped on her head.
That student taken to a local hospital as the Hays County Sheriff's Office took Langford into custody.
I was was just sort of like stuck. I didn't know how to react.
This 10th grader's father also stunned.
I don't know what a child could say to an adult that would make someone lose their mind like that and actually physically hurt somebody.
Hayes CISD says Langford just started substitute teaching with the district this semester. Friday was her 18th day in the classroom. The district says she passed her background check, but as of now, she no longer has a job.
Tonight, we know that Tiffany Langford is in jail and charged with aggravated assault. She's expected to face a judge in the morning. Reporting live in Hayes County, Bryce Newberry, KVUE News.
Oh, God. You know how deeply upset I am? I'm very upset. I was stunned when I watched this. But I got a lot to say. I'm going to save that for outdoors. And I know if you're watching, you watch that video, you know exactly how you feel when you watch this. Because if you're teachers and you saw this happening, you know how I feel. Y'all know exactly how I feel. I'm gonna take a break, and I got one more to show you. Then we're gonna wrap it up. We'll be right back. You see, if I had more hair on my head, I'd be ripping it apart. We're doing very little for these teachers, and one school district I gotta applaud to for just taking action immediately. And for that other one, being placed in administrative investigation complaint, he's still getting paid. There's the difference between being paid administrative leave, and unpaid. Unpaid means that you can't be paid while being on administrative leave. Paid means you're still being paid by our tax dollars. It's not the case from this case years ago. Just 7 months ago, a Dunlop High School teacher is charged with assaulting 2 students. 2. Now, hadn't the rules been reversed, those 2 students hit that teacher, those 2 students would have been in jail or in the juvenile detention center. Take a look.
Well, Victor Kelsey, he is being charged with assaulting 2 students, both of them freshmen. Now, according to charging documents obtained by WJZ, one of those students telling police that his teacher put him into a chokehold at least 10 times, if not more. Now, Vic and Kelsey, the parents and students that I've been speaking to here at the campus tell me they are shocked, not just because of this particular incident, but because this is the first time they have heard about anything bad related to this teacher until now. A teacher accused of choking students inside the classroom.
A Baltimore County teacher was arrested in reference to a second-degree assault.
30-year-old Andrew Rader, the chair of Dundalk High's art department, was arrested Wednesday, charged with assaulting 2 of his students.
Our detectives were able to determine that not only was 1 victim, that there was 2.
In April, a mother called police after seeing a video showing Rader putting her son in a chokehold during art class.
There's actually a video of an individual, the teacher, putting the student in an actual headlock.
Take a look at this video. You can see a student inside Mr. Rader's arm. The student telling police they had to put down their box of crayons in order to pull their teacher off of them. According to police reports, the victim says Rader choked him at least 10 times, starting out in a playful manner, then turning more aggressive over time.
We believe that there may be others.
A second victim telling police Rader repeatedly pushed on their backs to find pressure points. In a letter to the school community, the principal says they are fully cooperating with police, and Mr. Rader was immediately removed from the school and placed on administrative leave in April once they were made aware of his behavior. But police believe there may be more victims.
We are actively seeking any other individuals who were assaulted to come forward and give us any information.
Now, we have reached out to Rader's attorney. We have yet to hear back, but we do know that Rader was released from jail on a $3,500 bond and is due back in court in July. Reporting live, I'm Manny Rose Ramos for WJZ.
Now, when was this? 7 months ago? Man, this was almost 8 months ago. You know exactly how I feel. I know teachers all my life, and if I show them that one of those 2 videos, they'd be stunned. Would you let your child, if I was a teacher and I saw something like this, I don't know what I'd do. You don't know exactly how I feel. I'm going to save what I have to say for my outdoor shows. I'm going to get really loud. And I got a lot to say. Damn well. Because this makes me sick. Makes me sick seeing teachers assaulting students and students assaulting teachers. You don't do that. You don't do that. Let me get around for a second. You don't do that. What, you want to expect someone because you were in a bad mood? You don't do that. You want to go to jail? You think jail is cool? You think jail is fun? You wouldn't know shit about jail. I've seen what jail is. I know because I watched movies, TV shows, documentaries, seen news stories. You know exactly what I'm talking about here. And if you Google to teachers assaulting students, Google that, click on the news. Bam. But we're going to save that for next time. Let's just read you this quick one. Prince William County teacher charged with assault an 8-year-old. Can't do that because can't show you that because I got to pay for the subscription. But you probably don't want to get in it. And if that was me, I'd be in jail. If I saw a teacher, I'd be going to jail. Thinking about this. But, exactly, Farrell. Monday, I'm going to read you an article for the subject teacher assaulting the students from 4 days ago. And next week's our JonBenet Ramsey case. So I'm fucking pissed. I'm really pissed. I'm really pissed at this point. So we're going to end this right there. That's giving me a break for this Saturday going to Sunday. This has not been a great day. We'll see you again for Give Break Monday. For all of us here at YouTube, this has not been a great day. Y'all have a good night.